Ram V, Alex Pack-Nadell, Dan Waters, Daniel Bayliss, Tom Denerick, George Kambadias, and Brent Peoples head into the darkness as the strike team of heroes enter Alan Scott's ring to try and get to the heart of the Great Darkness and learn why it has returned. Ram V, Alex Pack-Nadell, and Dan Waters explore the magical side of the Dark Crisis event, infusing a lot of fun mystical adventures that Ram V and Dan Waters have done through Justice League Dark, and applying it to the huge event series, utilizing an interesting team makeup to dig up some important information about the Great Darkness, and something that I think a lot of people should be aware of. Specifically that the Great Darkness itself has been corrupted by the white-hot, vengeance-filled will of Pariah, who is doing whatever he can to try and bring his world back to life. Thanks to this, the tables have turned and we get a story about the darkness actually kind of calling for help in its own sort of indifferent way, seeing that it's a force that is neither love nor hate, right or wrong. It's just sort of indifferent to everything. So in its own way, it gave the heroes a small flicker of light that they could use to help win the war. That flicker of hope being the original antimatter machine used in the original Crisis of Infinite Earths. All three writers pull all of the canon and lore deep cuts together really nicely while exploring the themes of Dark Crisis, that being the younger generation kind of stepping up and some, like Superman and Nightwing, feeling that they're not fully up to it, and here they're kind of put through the ringer a little bit to show that yeah, they actually are up for it. Daniel Bayliss, Tom Denerick, George Kambadias, and Brent Peoples jump on as artists for the book and make the magical journey just look greatly colourful, dynamic, and really weird in some spots, channeling a lot of MC Escher in the design of Alan's mind with all of the constructs creating buildings on top of buildings and looks very Inception-like, and of course the cool fusion of the characters of Superman and Swamp Thing to create Super Swamp Thing, a combination that just looks so cool and sounds really cool on paper. Dark Crisis, The Deadly Green Issue 1 was a magical adventure into the Great Darkness filled with some interesting twists and some big implications for the main event, making this beautifully drawn, oversized tie-in a must-read. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10. Dark Crisis, The Deadly Green Issue 1 sees siblings Jade and Obsidian head for the Hall of Justice, heading down to the basement where John Constantine welcomes them to the seance the heroes are conducting to combat the Great Darkness. Alan Scott thanks his children for coming as Superman introduces himself to them, as Alan reveals that in the past, the Lantern Rings, particularly his, have had a connection to the primordial darkness, being it was designed to absorb and shape magic and bend it to Alan's will, and they should be able to use it to shield them from the darkness. Obsidian knows that he needs to take darkness into the ring in order for the light to exist, realizing this is why Alan has brought him there. He knows that if the darkness took over Alan, there is no way they could ever stop it, and he would never come back, and neither would anyone stuck in the ring. Obsidian refuses to do it, but Superman tells him that everyone believes in him and knows he can do it. The teams assemble with both Swamp Things, Raven, Constantine, and Superman getting ready to disappear into the ring, while Dr. Fate, Nightwing, Wonder Woman, and Jade stand guard in case anything comes for them. Obsidian touches the ring and the power explodes from it, engulfing the heroes and sucking them into the ring. The team arrive in a green construct city within Alan's mind, with Superman feeling they are being pulled in 3 different directions. Raven notices that Alec and John are missing, but Swamp Thing says that Alec Holland is only a memory in the green and has no human will to manifest inside the ring, therefore Alec is inside of him. He doesn't know where John Constantine is though, but they must move quickly as the darkness is infecting this place and will soon infect them. Superman takes off to get a better look in the sky, telling himself that he can live up to the shield, as he finds many floating buildings above them, but he suddenly crashes into the ground below. Levi knows that this is the world that's a product of a stalemate between 2 wills that cannot hold on forever. Raven finds that she can't teleport either, thinking they must approach the darkness as pilgrims on foot. Levi tells them to press on since this place will soon impair their minds and the world will come apart. Raven, however, is already beginning to feel the darkness, which makes her wonder if the heroes think this is her fault, being that she is a daughter of darkness. Constantine meanwhile finds himself in a black void, worried, lamenting how he just wanted to be left out of all of this. A voice wonders why he isn't afraid as he casually lights up a cigarette, knowing that he has seen his fair share of darkness and it all starts to look the same. The darkness calls him insolent as the being takes the form of the Upside Down Man, knowing that John is just putting on a brave face. The being asks what John wants, so John asks why the darkness has returned now. The Upside Down Man wonders if he really has returned, or has he only been waiting for the lights to go out and for the show to begin. Superman meanwhile flies once more to get a look at the column of darkness up ahead of them. Swamp Thing knows that this is the cause of the crisis, and Superman believes it is, warning the others because of no sunlight, he's beginning to feel weak. Raven thinks the darkness is actually sapping his powers, wanting to stop and take a moment, but Superman knows they have to press on despite not getting any closer in the hours they have been moving. Swamp Thing thinks they have only been there for a few minutes as Superman notices the green car he crashed into, ripping it in half in frustration as they've been going in circles. Swamp Thing ensnares Raven since she's been their guide this entire time, and the woman knows that they aren't lost. It's just Alan Scott's mind trying to protect itself with constructs. Levi wonders if Raven, a child of darkness, is corrupted by it now, and Superman becomes angered thanks to the darkness, screaming that they never should have brought Raven with them. Raven says that Constantine wanted her on the mission as she blasts Swamp Thing away. She tells the heroes that Constantine understood that she knows the darkness and has to live with it constantly, so she can tell when it's infecting her, unlike both of the other heroes. The enraged Superman knows that she doesn't want them leaving this place, but Raven thinks him using threats is not what his father would have done and is very un-Superman-like. Superman and Swamp Thing pursue Raven into the city as out in the Hall of Justice, Obsidian knows his father is pushing himself too much, telling the others they need to stop. Dr. Fate warns that if they stop, the balance will be lost and light will consume those who went into the ring. Yarrow doesn't understand what's happening, so Obsidian reveals that he's bombarding Alan with hundreds of thousands of nightmares all at once. Nightwing asks what he's meant to do against that, but Fate knows they just have to hope that he has enough walls up to drive the darkness away, and that he will create in the face of futility. Constantine meanwhile watches as the darkness changes from the Upside Down Man into Trigon, who knows that it's only in his presence will they be free to be who they really are, wondering if John Kent can live up to his father's legacy, if Levi Kamei is deserving of the trust his world puts in him, and Raven only strives to be anything but herself, all thanks to the darkness. Constantine isn't worried since the best parts of them have nothing to do with the truth, and it actually all lies in the messy middle. He wonders if this is some type of test, and the darkness grows into a giant Trigon, telling Constantine that he was there before everything and he is beyond timelessness, and now John is asking if he's being tested, comparing it all to a raft in a storm, thinking the ocean is testing its metal. The darkness says that his existence is a canvas against which they play their struggles out on, and John has opened his hand seeking answers only to find it empty. John slowly disappears as the being closes his hand around him, wanting to watch John and the others' own hubris either be their glory or their undoing. Levi continues to attack Raven, catching her with his vines as the being says that the darkness seems to nourish Raven whereas it's weakening him and Superman. Raven says that the darkness is inside of them as Superman returns, telling her that it's all her fault and she was always going to succumb to the darkness, and if they had to keep her there to stop it, he will. Raven is thrown into a wall as the heroes continue to assault her, grabbing the woman and getting ready to kill her. Raven puts her hands on John's head, telling him to let his father's warmth cut through. Levi throws Superman away, trying to save the hero as he launches himself at Raven. Superman, free from the darkness's grip, tells Levi to stop since Raven is trying to help them. She explains that she isn't affected by the darkness since she is born of darkness, and Superman and Swamp Thing made it there because they are creatures of the sun and can endure the darkness, where she made it because it cannot charm her because she knows all its faces. Levi asks why she led them in circles, but Raven knows that she didn't, and it was just Alan Scott's mind shifting them around to protect itself. She reveals though that she is drawn to the darkness and it has led them to the darkness column at the center of the maze. Alan meanwhile burns in a green fire as Jade tells Obsidian to stop, assuring Nightwing that Alan and her brother won't hurt them when they come out, rushing into the flames to stop Obsidian. Obsidian says that Alan can't sustain this and he's blazing too hard. Jade is well aware since that's what they all do. Jade grabs her brother's hand, assuring him they won't hurt their father as they approach him. Levi meanwhile finds the darkness darkness too much, despite Raven telling him that he must be the one to do this, since if she touched it, the darkness would take full control over her and her humanity would be snuffed out instantly. Superman knows this isn't how it should end, but Levi knows that it's not, being able to hear the green still, and it's showing them the way. John thinks that if his father was there, he would know what to do, but Levi tells John that Clark isn't there, Superman is. John asks what Levi needs of him, so Levi reveals that they can stop the darkness together. He begins covering John's body with his own body, telling him that while he's a child of Krypton, he's also a child of Earth, and they are human at their best as they raise each other up. Constantine meanwhile asks the darkness if it sees how all the powers, the costumes, and pageantry is to hide unstable creatures who are just trying to find some measure of normalcy in everything, and laden with the responsibility of knowing but without the excuse of helplessness, and that's where they are at their extremes. But in the middle, they are just boring, mundane people, something the darkness should know if it's been watching them for so long, and that they always find their way. The darkness soon appears as Lucifer, claiming John is blaming him again. The being says that it knows of humanity's capacity for greatness, however John's flicker of light is the only one the darkness understands, and he would never kill John since he will do that himself. Jade and Obsidian try and reach their father, telling him that all of the light and fires of civilization in the world don't make the darkness any less, and they might hide and comfort them, but when it comes down to it, it's only them against the darkness. Alan is brought out of the fire as Jade tells him to let the fire dim since they will always be there for him. The fires die down and Alan falls unconscious as the super Swamp Thing enters the darkness column. John feels different thanks to being able to see through the green, seeing the world how Levi sees it. Levi warns John that the darkness is very strong and he can only support John for a short time. Superman spots a shape in the darkness column, plunging his hand into the column and feeling a cold burning sensation. John rips out Pryor's original antimatter machine as Constantine realizes that he is the fulcrum in all of this. The darkness says that it's given the heroes all the answers they need, hoping John knows by its nature it is incapable of hate, and if anything, it's the greatest romantic John will ever meet. The Great Darkness casts John out of the void as the heroes return to the Hall of Justice with the antimatter device. Superman is happy to see Constantine alive, knowing that they couldn't have a chance to find him since the darkness spat them out. John tells Superman not to worry about it since he was talking with the darkness and Superman did all of the hard work. Swamp Thing leaves John's body as Dr. Fate tells the heroes that the device they captured is the machine Pryor used to start the first crisis. Superman figures that this is all Pryor's doing and the darkness isn't a corruption in them, they are the ones corrupting it, and Pryor has corrupted the darkness with his mind. John lights up a cigarette and thinks to himself about the basement in the hall, knowing it's a place filled with people who battle and bargain the darkness, and these people insist it doesn't take the same toll. But yet what is a hall if not some walls and lights put up against the darkness? And what are any of them but a flicker just waiting to be snuffed out?